if you're watching live, or if you're joining the replay. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll do a quick intro for anybody who is not familiar or hasn't been following my page. Welcome. My name is Elena. I am a certified health coach, personal trainer, owner of Elena Nicole Health. Mainly, I work with women who want to lose weight, but also really get healthier and just overall look and feel your best. So really, my specialty is helping you create habits and routines so you can really have something to kind of fall back on the day-to-day to know that you can reach your goals, but also maintain them. So tonight I am doing a video all about, well, first of all, I want to do Q&A. So if you have any questions about, health, weight loss, how to maintain throughout the holidays or even create habits and routines, please feel free to drop them in the comments. I'm going to make sure that I can see where those are. Okay, yes, I can. So please, if you have any questions, drop them in. I would love to answer them live on here or even after the fact if I see them later on. If you are interested in signing up for a coaching session or just learning a little bit more, I always do free consults. So also just drop a comment or a emoji in the chat here, and I'll definitely follow up with you, and we can absolutely do that. So definitely want to start off with that. If you ever decide that you do want to reach out to me after this video, you can do that on my website, which is elenanicolehealth.com. You can also do it on any of my social pages at Elena Nicole Health. With any question that you have, I'm always happy to help. So please feel free to do that. So then, as well as that, I just wanted to share a few things that I have coming up. One is I'm going to be doing something I'm calling 12 Days of Healthy Habits, kind of leading right up to Christmas. Just like, what is that song? 12 Days of Christmas. Just like that, but 12 Days of Healthy Habits. So it's really not a challenge or anything like that, but I'm just going to be sharing what I am doing, kind of behind the scenes look for habits. I'm going to be practicing every single day right up through Christmas. So I'm ready to go right after the fact, even through the holidays. We're not eliminating anything, not doing anything crazy, but it's just 4 simple habits that I'm practicing all the way through and encouraging you guys to join in if you want to. It's water, movement, mindful eating, which I'll talk a lot about that today. And I share a lot about that on my page, and I will continue to do so. And then kind of an added bonus is green smoothie in the morning if you want to add that in as number 4. That's something that I plan to practice even traveling, going to Disney with my family. It's going to be crazy. I'm doing all sorts of other things. We're going away this weekend with my daughter, which I don't think will fall in those dates. It won't. But just to kind of show you guys, like, it's totally possible with whatever you're doing. I'm going to be in an Airbnb with my family. I don't even know what they're going to have there, but I will figure it out. We'll make it work. And I want to share just kind of with you guys how I'm going to be able to do that, because I know we're all thrown in situations that we don't exactly know what's going to be happening, but we can definitely still maintain some of our healthy habits just so we can really look and feel our best overall. So that is the whole point of pretty much everything I do, is just share with you guys how I do that in a sustainable, realistic, kind of long-term way. So that is something I have coming up. And then also on January 9th, which I believe is a Sunday, I will just double check because I looked before and I want to make sure I have that right. But I think it is a Sunday, yes. I'm going to be doing another one of my 7-day health resets, which I've done a couple in the past, and pretty much I get a group, I start an event on my Facebook page. That's where you can see all of this, also on my Instagram, but this one on the 9th is going to be specifically on Facebook. And it is basically, I don't even like to call it a detox or a cleanse, because it's really not, but it's really like cleaning everything up for 7 days. So we're going to be focusing on eating only the most nutrient-dense foods. We're going to be taking out some of the categories of foods that are inflammatory for a lot of people, and then slowly incorporating them back in. So I have a full plan for you for that. I have meal plans, I have food categories, everything, templates, all sorts of things for you guys to use, and I pretty much walk you through the entire thing. So, and that's completely free, and that's my group as well. I've done it a few times, and I always get really, really good feedback. Several people have said in the past, they just can't believe they can feel that good within 7 days. So I definitely welcome you guys to join me on either of those things. Like I said, I'll be posting a lot about them on my Facebook, but also my Instagram at Elena Nicole Health. So just let me know if you're interested, and I will definitely make sure to keep you in the loop. I'm sorry, I have my huge jumbo obnoxious water bottle, and I just ordered another water bottle, and I didn't even realize it, and I have like 4 like rose gold light pink water bottles. My daughter just said to me as I opened the box, she's like, Mom, you have like too many pink water bottles. And I didn't even realize I had all of the same color, but I have like this obsession, if you can see behind me, with this color. Don't know what it is, but Anyways, so yeah, those are a couple things I have coming up, but I will dive into the topic. So like I said, Q&A, drop any comments, questions in here if you have any. But today I'm going to be talking about eating to look and feel your best. So really, like I said before, kind of the overarching concept of what I teach and what I try to help other people with is making choices day to day that are really going to leave us looking and feeling our best in a sustainable way. So that's movement, that's mindset, and that's also eating is a huge part of it. And I always like to throw this in and put a heavy emphasis on this because, a lot of us are short on time. And that is one obstacle I hear so many times from moms, from women. We're working, we're doing all the things and we're short on time. Well, we eat regardless, like we are putting food in our mouth regardless, and we can almost always control what and how much goes into our mouth. So that's something I like to place a lot of emphasis on, really talk about different ways that we can take more control and like manage what we're doing when it comes to this topic. So that's a lot of what I'm going to be talking about today. And really just ways to stay more aware and to be more mindful of what we're doing. So overall, we can feel better, we can reach our weight loss goals, and we can also maintain them. All of these tips have been crucial, and significantly important in my journey. When I started to incorporate all of these things, that's really when I was able to lose, like I would say, my last 10 or 15 pounds. I don't want to say easily, but within a totally different way than I had been trying to do it for I can't talk. Mainly, I said mostly, my entire life. I was just trying, to diet and like just do it with such, I don't even like such a harsh and in such a harsh and forceful way. But this just is so much easier because you are focusing more on just like self-care and just making choices that are going to leave you feeling your best. I'm going to keep saying that because it's really the overarching concept. But basically, we're going to talk about like what are the reasons that sometimes we don't feel so great after eating, what is causing them, like why is it happening, and then also some specific tips and tangible ideas that you can take away to kind of help with some of these things. And for everybody, it's different, and there's way more reasons and way more tips and ways to counteract some of these things than what I'm going to mention today. But for the purpose of this video, I just want to kind of do a high-level overview, and then, like I said, I'm happy to dive into any of these in more detail on a future video or post or something like that. So I kind of broke it up into four common reasons and ways and things that happen that cause us to feel like bloated, out of control, just not so great after we eat. I'm going to be talking about the holidays a lot because we are in December, and that is when a lot of us are challenged with this. We enter the holiday season, we're like, I'm going to do better this year, I'm going to do really good. Maybe we have kind of a plan, we get into it, and many times we just lose all control. Maybe we have one cookie, we have some dip, or we have something that's really not healthy, and it's over. And I used to be that way. 100% I used to be that way. And after incorporating a lot of these things and just staying really mindful and aware with every single thing I'm doing, I was able to shift it. So that's kind of what brought me to here. So one of the reasons that we don't feel great after we're done eating is overeating. A lot of times, it's not the food, it's not the drinks, it's that we're overdoing it. We're not having one plate of like some of our favorite foods that maybe aren't doing our body any benefit. We're having 3, we're having 4. We're not having 1 or 2 cookies, we're having 4 or 5. Then maybe we're having some cake, then a couple bites of pie, like whatever it is. We're overdoing it. Like our body just isn't meant to handle that quantity of food in that short of a time period. And we know when we've done it. It's eating past full. The second one is mindless eating, when we really don't know what we're putting in our mouth and why. A lot of times this happens around the holidays. I've said this so many times in my recent videos. You walk into a situation, other people are eating and drinking. It's like a high emotion, high energy kind of situation. Sometimes we're feeling awkward or a little uncomfortable, and we just eat and drink because it's just like, okay, well, what else am I going to do to kind of counteract this feeling that I have? Like I don't really know what else to do. So you end up eating and drinking. A lot of times we catch ourselves after the fact here. I give this example all the time too. You go to a Mexican restaurant, they give you chips and salsa, and sometimes like you're just eating and talking and maybe you have a margarita, and then like 3 baskets are empty and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not even hungry anymore. So that's like more the mindless eating. Emotional eating, that's usually eating to avoid, numb, or distract, or to create an emotion. So for me, the biggest ones for me that I have found myself like looking to eat or have eaten in the past is like boredom, restlessness. That's huge for me at night. It's like my daughter will go to bed, and procrastination is huge. Like maybe I'll have some work to do, like get content together or whatever it may be, clean my house. But instead, I find myself looking in the pantry because I'm bored, I'm restless, I don't want to do the things that I have to do, like the adulting things. So I find myself like staring at food. Like, what am I going to eat here to kind of not have to do what I want to do? But that's more emotional eating, when you're trying to avoid something, whether it's having to do something and not want to have to deal with the feeling of being bored to do it, or maybe it's something painful, whatever it may be, or to distract from a feeling. That's typically when we're emotionally eating. I hear a lot of the time like stress eating, or what else? I think that's the biggest one, is stress eating, that I hear most often. We feel stressed, we don't want to deal with it, so we eat. Lastly, and this one is one we're all very, very aware of, I think, is eating non-nutrient dense foods, like foods that have no nutritional value but taste really good, that are usually highly, highly addictive. These are the foods that have very high sugar, very high white flour. Sometimes they have additives, preservatives, all sorts of things in them that literally they are pumped full of chemicals to make us want to eat more and more. It is seriously shocking. I talk about this all the time. What is in the food that is in the grocery stores these days? My daughter goes to school, and then she goes to aftercare for a couple hours, and they send her home with these snacks that have the list of ingredients on the back of them is a mile long. They all have added coloring, like fake Cheez-Its that she brings home, and then they have all sorts of ingredients that I have Googled, and they're all derivatives of non-food products. I don't even know what you would call them. But if you start to research into it, many of those things are added in to make us want to consume large quantities of this food, which is sick. It's absolutely crazy, but it contributes to us eating more, and it also contributes to us not feeling so great. So these are all things to keep in mind, and basically the common reasons why that I hear about a lot, and ones I've dealt with myself, of why we are feeling more out of control, bloated, and just not so great after we're done eating. Okay, so the next I want to talk about like what causes us to do some of these things, and then also how to fix it. And I'm going to just break down like step by step. Again, if anybody pops on, please feel free to drop questions in here. Number one is, you guys hear me talk about mindset and thoughts a lot. That is because our thoughts drive our actions. It is not the food and it's not the drinks. It's what our thoughts are about them. A lot of times, we have like habitual thinking about food. I know that I do. We have things that are like demonizing some foods, idolizing others. I can't have this. I can't have that. I shouldn't do this. I don't know what to do. Or I need to get rid of this feeling. I'm feeling anxious. I can't feel this. What can I do? And then we like start with the food or the drinks. But it's always driven by our thought about the food or drinks, not necessarily what's in front of us. And if you guys have been following my challenge, I give this example in one of the emails that I sent out. I could go into a holiday party and be sitting in front of like an entire buffet of food and have a certain set of thoughts, feelings, and then I'm going to act a certain way. Someone else who maybe doesn't have any history with disordered eating or weight loss, weight gain, could go in and have completely different thoughts, feelings, and would have a different action as a result. And likely mine might be, maybe even a few years back would be, oh my gosh, I want to eat this, but I'm not going to eat this. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I would feel very manic, maybe anxious, maybe out of control. Eventually, if I continue to resist that, I would just eat everything in sight. The person next to me literally may just not be interested. Like they would maybe just be like, I can't wait to see so-and-so, and would barely even notice the food. Same exact circumstance, same exact situation. The only difference is our thoughts. And the amazing thing about that is that once we can identify and become aware of these thoughts, we can slowly change them. Sometimes just literally understanding what's going on in our brain can be so helpful, and we can completely change what we're doing just by starting to recognize that. I know that was the biggest thing with me several years ago. I've shared this a bunch too, but I was starting to look into more of the psychology of eating, thought work, all that type of stuff, seeing a therapist, started really understanding what I was thinking about what I was thinking about. Sounds weird, but that's really what it is. And like things seriously started to shift for me. It's when I started noticing a lot of the habits that I had, and I started questioning why in the world was I doing these things, because they were not bringing me the results that I wanted. So just keeping that in mind. It's not the food, it's thoughts about the food. Like I said, one way to fix this or change this is to just start listening what is going on up here and start thinking, wow, where did that come from? If you find yourself, doing any of the things I mentioned, wanting to go and eat when you're not hungry, just questioning like, what's going on here? What am I trying to avoid? what feeling do I not want to feel? And start listening to like your brain. What is it giving you? What is it offering you? When it comes to the mindless eating, same thing there. When you're not eating in a healthy way that's really taking care of your body and going to leave you feeling your best, what is your reasoning there? Sometimes our thoughts are things like, I don't know what to do, I don't know how, I don't have the time. And then you want to start questioning those and shifting them to, what can I do? What can I make work in the time that I have? So it's really becoming aware of those thoughts, starting to ask yourself the right questions, and starting to shift them to drive more of the actions that you want. Again, happy to help on questions with this. This is really like a process that we can walk through on coaching calls. So another reason that these things can happen is habits. Sometimes we have been doing these things for so long that they're second nature. They are unintentional habits that we don't even realize have been going on. They're like behavioral patterns. So for me, I used to always eat when I came home from school when I was younger, like in high school and middle school. Then I started working or going to college. I did the same thing. And I didn't even start to really become aware of that and question it until, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago. Even to this day, I still have thoughts when I come home from work, like, where are the chips? Where is the food? Where is this? Like, what can I shove in my mouth to kind of, again, like numb out that feeling of just like craziness from the day, stress from the day, until, again, like goes back to what I said before, I started to become aware of it. And then I can question, do I really want to do that? Most of the time, my answer is no. I also now have reasons for eating. I want to be hungry, or I want it to be like a rare occasional treat, like something that I really want to taste and enjoy, or I want to be hungry. I don't just want to eat. So those are things that I encourage that you guys decide for yourselves. What are the reasons that you want to eat? Now, if you're going to a holiday party and there's like your favorite dip or your favorite desserts, that is a totally different situation, but I still practice all of these mindful eating tips when I'm there. It's just going to fall more in that category of, something that's a rare occasional treat, something that it's more of a unique thing. You really want to try it. You really want to experience it. You're going to have some of it and you're going to be done. But habits and behavior patterns are a big one. So really starting to pay attention when you're doing these things and questioning if you want to. Next, I talked about this a little bit before, is another reason is addictive foods. We're eating these things that are called foods. They have labels on them in the grocery store, but they really are they're massively produced very, very cheaply, and they are meant to really trick our brain into wanting more and more. We want to try to eat less of those and more of the food in its purest form, what's really going to fuel our body and helps to do a lot less of all of these other things. So plant foods, which would be fruits, vegetables, clean protein, healthy fats, which when you put those together with seasonings, they can really be amazing. You can totally change your taste buds to actually appreciate those foods more than others. And I am telling you guys, if you're listening to this and you're like, there is no way, like, you eat healthy, like, I would never do that. I used to be completely on the opposite page. I had no interest in this stuff several years ago. I've completely shifted my taste buds to actually crave these foods and not the others. So that's a big one too. This next one is huge, a reason that this happens. Our brain tells us that we want more and more once we've had something good. Like I mentioned before, with the addictive foods, even if you're having something else, if I have a really good salad, it could be made of completely plant-based foods. I make like some of my really good dressing combinations. I have a tahini vinaigrette that's seriously so good. When I'm done with the salad, my brain is literally like, give me more. Like, I want more. Have another salad. Go have this. Go get this out of the pantry. And when we know that this is happening, this happens all the time for me on holidays. I have a plate of food. Maybe I get a little more. And then my brain is like, you've already eaten a bunch. Have more. Have more. Have more. This is, I feel like, key to overeating, is knowing that you're going to get those thoughts, what I call them just ideas from our brain, that is saying to have it, but we get to choose what we do with those. We can literally just look at them as ideas, as thoughts in our brain, and not to do anything with them, which is kind of where that is, to me, when you can do that, when you can listen to those things floating around and not take action, or just take a breath and pause and identify what you really want to do there, you are good to go, because then you can handle any kind of like temptation or urge that comes at you, any idea to do anything kind of crazy that maybe you sometimes do because you don't know how to handle it. But once you learn how to kind of process those thoughts, those ideas, just let them be there. We don't want to fight them, because when we fight them, they come back more forceful, and then eventually sometimes we just end up giving in because we just can't stand it anymore. And I'm going to give you guys an example, because I think of my daughter all the time. I use her as an example because her brain has no filter. I think I shared this the other day. But if she asks me for something, especially like candy or a cookie, and I say, no, we're not going to have this, she will continue to push harder and harder and harder. Sometimes she'll cry, sometimes she'll throw a tantrum. And if I ignore her, she's going to get louder and louder. If I try to fight her, she's going to get louder and louder. She's probably going to cry. Who knows what she's going to do, especially when she was younger. Our brain is the exact same way. When we try to fight it or we try to resist it, it typically comes back louder and louder and louder. When we just allow it to be there, sometimes I'll just say, I totally hear you that you want to have candy tonight, but we're not going to have it tonight. She may give me a little bit of a hard time, but 2 seconds later, she's gone. She's moving on to the next thing. And our brain literally works like very, very similarly. If we just let it be there as an idea, sometimes because we get like crazy ideas sometimes, and I just kind of laugh at it like, okay, I know you're telling me to have like 4 more cookies, but I'm going to feel awful if I do that. And like, it's not going to taste any better because I'm just going to want more and more and more. So that is like really, really big when we know that that's not a problem and it happens to everyone. I was just having this conversation with my mom because she tells me all the time that I don't have those challenges anymore because like I've gotten to a different place in my health. And I'm like, I absolutely do. I absolutely have those thoughts and the chatter in my mind. I just know that it's an idea and I don't have to act on it. And that's what I encourage you guys to practice over and over and over again because it becomes like a really good skill to develop. And you can apply it anywhere in your life. All right, so the next one, a reason that some of these things happen is just lack of awareness and not paying attention. That is so huge, especially as we go into the holidays, we go to these events, we don't even realize what we're doing. We're just trying to either get through it or there's so much craziness, like we want to have fun, but we don't even realize we've had like 6 drinks or maybe we've had 6 bowls of chips or you're just eating out of the bag if you go to a restaurant or you have a huge plate of pasta when you go out to eat and all of a sudden it's gone and you feel awful. So really lack of awareness or paying attention, and a way to counteract this is just making a habit of paying attention to every single thing that goes in your mouth. Just pay attention to what it is, question why it's there. No judgment against what's going on for yourself. It's more just curiosity. You want to use it as data. I just ate that. I wonder why. I didn't even pay attention to, eating all of that food. What was going on there? Like looking at that, being curious, taking feedback, seeing how you can improve. I'm just looking at my notes here to see if I have any other recommendations for that. Something that I always do and I recommend literally anywhere I'll do it. I don't care if I have a napkin, if I use my hand, or if I use a plate. I say this a lot, is portioning out the food I want to eat before I go to have it. I do this all the time at restaurants. We get an appetizer, I get a small plate, I take out what I want to eat and I eat it. Not for a reason of being ridiculous or restrictive or anything like that, because I literally just want to know what I'm having. I don't want to eat an entire plate of food and not realize that I did it. I want to literally look, okay, I'm going to have this much, and if I decide to have more, I'll go ahead and have more. All right, now this last one is huge too. A reason that some of these things happen is we're afraid of feeling a certain way. We are literally terrified of feeling uncomfortable. Our brains are wired that way. I've talked about this before. We are afraid of being uncomfortable, of feeling sad, of stressed, anxious, restless. That is a huge, huge one for me. Awkward, holiday parties. So big. I had to go to an event not too long ago that had 2,000 people. Some of them were my clients, others were not. It was a party at night, and I was doing a gut cleanse, so I was not drinking alcohol. Every single other person was drinking alcohol at the party. I went into it knowing it was going to be extremely awkward, and I knew that I was going to feel that way. I got a sparkling water, I walked around, and I was like, I'm just going to let this be awkward. I'm going to let it be uncomfortable, and I'm going to let it be awkward. When we're no longer afraid to feel like that, life changes. And not only in the area of food and drinks, but in so many different areas. If we're not afraid to be a little bit uncomfortable, feel a little bit nervous, to feel a little bit anxious or sad or stressed, like we can handle anything. And we don't need the food and the drinks to fix it for us. That is so, so key and huge when it comes to weight loss and maintenance, especially if you have any history or habits of emotional eating. Stress eating is a big thing. I hear that so often that, I'm stressed. I had a horrible week. I had a stressful week. And I always encourage you to just let yourself feel that for a little bit. Process it. Just let it be there and don't fight it. That is the biggest thing, is when we try to fight it, we try to get rid of the emotion. The emotion doesn't go anywhere. We just push it down for a while, then we eat, we feel not so great, and then we're still feeling stressed, maybe even more stressed because we just ate our feelings away. So learning how to process your emotions and just letting them be there is really what it is. There's a tool called labeling. They talk about it a little bit differently at the Life Coach School with Brooke Castillo, because I follow her. I talk about her a lot. But we also talk about it in some of my other coaching work that I do. It's used in negotiations. It's a really powerful tool. Apparently, there's a portion of your brain that when you label an emotion you're feeling and kind of start identify where it is. It sounds kind of crazy to people who are not into this, but it really, really works. There's lots of studies that show that it does. It actually helps to reduce that emotion. So if you're feeling anxious and you identify that that's how you're feeling, you kind of identify where it is in your body, it can reduce the strength of that emotion. So that is a really powerful thing to do versus trying to eat through it. And the best thing about this is once you do that, you can still choose to have the food or the drink. It just won't be because you need it. It'll be because you want it. It's honestly kind of amazing. That's another reason that it happens is fear of feeling a certain way, fear of feeling any kind of discomfort or uncomfortable feeling. Once we learn to be okay with that, which is my tip here, try to be okay with feeling any feeling because we're not going to die. We're going to be okay. Sit through it and then decide what you actually want to do, what action you want to take. In any area. This is so useful for parenting too, because sometimes literally tonight, my daughter makes me so crazy that I just want to take some kind of crazy action, but I just let it feel hard and crazy. And then I can choose if I actually want to throw something out the window or whatever. Sometimes I literally tell her that, Ava, I'm feeling so angry right now. I want to throw something, but I'm not going to throw anything. I'm just going to be angry. I literally have that conversation with her. But once you're able to do that and just allow that, you can feel so much better, and then you don't need to do those things, eat those things, or drink those things. So I just want to go through some of these tips very, very quickly before we get off tonight. That kind of wraps up everything else that I talked about. Like I mentioned before, once you can identify some of those thoughts that are more limiting beliefs that are holding you back in some of those other areas, maybe why you're doing things, maybe why you're not doing other things, you can start to shift them. For example, if some of the things you're noticing, maybe it's around eating healthy foods and not eating, more of the processed and packaged things that I mentioned are very highly addictive. And maybe some of your limiting thoughts are, I don't know how. You would want to go back to that with, but how can I figure it out? What can I look at? Who can help me with this? And you can do that every single step. When you start to identify a negative or limiting thought that you have, you can counteract it with one that would be more productive and get you more in the direction that you want to go. Next, slow down. Literally just slow down. Take a step back and take a breath and just think, what do I actually want to do in this situation versus letting life come at you, act, and then regret it after. Just slow down and think about what you want to do. Like I mentioned before, allow the idea or the thought that you want to eat, just be there. Just listen to it and then question, what do I actually want to do here? And make that intentional choice. That is how we regain control over our actions, over what we do, over what we eat, over what we say, is we allow the idea, the craziness to be there. I've thought about this before when I've been driving and I see someone with road rage. And I'm like, why did they fly off the handle? And I would never even think to do that. And the reason is because sometimes I do think to do that. That was not a correct way to say that. Why do I think to do it but don't do it? And that person does it. Drives by, smashes down on their horn, gives the finger, almost cuts someone off and almost hits them. Why did they do that? And I might have the thought but wouldn't act on it. And the reason is because I can let that idea be there. And it's the exact same thing with parenting or eating or drinking. You can consider it and decide not to do it. So that's kind of sums that one up. A couple other really quick ones. When you're watching how much processed and packaged food that you're eating, going back to the addictive foods, focusing on reading labels. Look at the label list. What is on it? Is it a mile long? I'd suggest skipping it for the majority of your diet. Do you recognize the ingredients? If our brain doesn't recognize them, our body is typically not going to recognize them. Go for balance whenever you can. You want to strive for something that's a combination of carbohydrates, clean carbohydrates, so more the unprocessed version, fiber, healthy fats, protein that's going to help keep your blood sugar stable and help you feel your best. Even sometimes when I'm making a dessert at home, Might sound crazy to some of you guys, but I'll put in a scoop of like protein powder, or I'll try to add something with fiber because it is going to keep my blood sugar more stable than if it's literally pure carbohydrates or sugar. There is nothing wrong with carbohydrates. It's when it's the pure sugar or it's the processed version of them that our body just does not agree with them very well. Another thing I do is when I'm out of my routine, I try to keep like traveling on vacation, doing all the holiday things. I still try to keep 1 to 2 meals following my template. Like I'll still have a green smoothie in the morning. I'll still have a big salad with veggies and protein for lunch. That way, when I'm having dinner and having whatever I have, I still know that I'm somewhat on track and I'm still feeling good because the majority of the day has still been in the way that I like to eat and the way that I know that I feel my best. And this can be modified for you, however you can make that work. Start by making a habit of paying attention to what goes in your mouth, asking yourself why. Do you like your reason? Just make sure you like your reason. I shared mine before. One is I'm hungry. What I like to eat because I'm hungry, or because it's like a rare occasional treat of some sort. Let's see, what's this next one here? Emotional eating, like I mentioned, instead of using food to avoid or distract from an emotion, to try avoid feeling uncomfortable, restless, bored, whatever it is, just sit with it. Just literally let yourself feel it. And then decide, do I actually want to do that, or was I just doing it because I didn't want to feel stressed? Because once you kind of go through that process of like feeling stressed for a little bit, you may or may not still want the thing, and you probably will have a whole lot less of it, and it won't be in that urgent way like, oh my gosh, I need that to get rid of this feeling. So that can be really, really helpful as well. When we don't do that as much, we aren't giving our power away to like the food or the wine or whatever it may be. We are taking it back because we know we can handle any emotion and we don't need something else to help us get rid of it. And then lastly for today, try to have a general plan going into these situations, whether it's the holidays, whether it's January, whatever it is for you. If you know you're going to a situation where you're going to feel a little bit out of control, you're going to feel like you're going to be really tempted to do things that you don't want to eat or drink or whatever it may be, have a general plan. Take some of the tips that I shared today, which ones do you want to practice for that specific event or situation or week? Reach out to me. I'm happy to help walk you through a specific plan for a specific situation or event. Like I said, I always do free consult calls. It's exactly what we do in coaching. We lay out an overall lifestyle plan for you, and then I work with you to practice it. So again, happy to kind of walk you through like the beginning steps of that and see what that would look like for exactly what you're being challenged with. So that kind of wraps up today. I kept it right around 30 minutes, which was my goal. Again, if you guys have any questions, please still drop them here in the chat if you're watching this as a replay. And you can definitely always feel free to set up a consult call like I mentioned. You can do that on my site at Elena Nicole Health. Just go to book consultation right at the top. And I hope this was helpful for you guys. Like I mentioned, I'm going to be sharing my 12 days of healthy habits, 4 really simple healthy habits that I'm going to be practicing, as well as starting my 7-day health reset on January 9th. I'll be sharing a ton about this in my Facebook group as well as on my Instagram page, so just make sure you're following along. And thank you for anyone who joined me, or if you're watching the replay, I look forward to talking to you soon.